It's Dr. Shane Harada coming at you again with this week's health tip. So, before we get started, the disclaimer: this video has not been reviewed, authorized, or approved in any way, shape, or form by the FDA. It is for educational and informational purposes only. If you are dealing with any health challenges, please see your medical provider, your physician, especially if you are taking any prescriptions, as some of the natural remedies that I go through may interfere or enhance the medication's effects. So, one of the steps for your education and information is, from a health position and a health standpoint, with healthy cells, it's not the medication that's working better. It's actually the natural remedies that help your body function better and help those cells function better, which actually then increases the medication's effects. So typically then my recommendations when I see patients personally, I monitor and watch the signs and symptoms as well as the lab tests when I'm co-treating with a medical practitioner. We'll see changes in those, and then naturally the medical doctor will start to decrease the medication dosage amount and so forth as the body heals itself and becomes better. This is today's topic regarding the universal law of spiritual first and physical second. As we discussed in the previous videos, the natural remedies for boosting the immune system, in looking at the real research regarding what's so-called the placebo effect, the placebo effect is actually bringing that spiritual law into effect physically, because obviously it's showing that a person can take a sugar tablet with no active ingredients and have the same or even a better effect than the medication itself, or whatever the test is being done with regards to the placebo effect. Now, this universal law of spiritual first and physical second is the law by which everything in our physical world and in this form of a world and the universe has been created. It is what all of the spiritual masters, including Jesus Christ, Muhammad, you can go through history books, and any and all of the spiritual teachers and spiritual masters are teaching the same truth regarding this spiritual law. Now, the question that I have, and I've asked hundreds of my patients this: is disease any different? Now, what I mean by that, and as you even question that in your own mind, does a diseased cell with pathology or DNA or any form of this physical body, does it follow a different law than spiritual first and physical second? Or does it actually follow that same law, and is it incorporated into that law? In all of the study and research that I've done, both in Western medicine as well as in Eastern medicine, the spiritual law is absolutely the truth. Now, as we talk spiritual law and physical law, let's also make a connection here with physics, because we can talk about quantum physics and cosmology, and we can talk about Newtonian physics. Now, quantum physics is dealing with the microparticles, even subatomic particles, which are smaller than microparticles. Depends on which microscope you're looking through, because obviously the microscope, and then you have the electron microscope, and then we have, on the opposite spectrum, we have telescopes that look out into the universe. Now, Dr. Wayne Dyer taught this magnificent principle and was so eloquent in it. We'll have to look that up, because it was on a PBS special where Dr. Wayne Dyer is giving a presentation for PBS. An amazing, amazing man. And I remember it because what he said is, if you take this physical world and you go into a microscope, and let me back up. even if you go out into the universe. And we know that universe now is not just dead or emptiness as space is concerned. That used to be the prevailing thought in science, and the prevailing actual scientific law that they used to teach is that space was empty. With all of the modern technology and the things that we know now, we truly understand that space is not empty at all. In fact, through all of that space, there is energy permeating every square centimeter and microcentimeter in every area of space, even in the black holes. And then the black holes are taking and sucking up all of that energy, but it's still energy. And the interesting thing with mathematics is, we could have another discussion, we'll have to open that up, is the mathematics that go into the black hole and come down to what is called the law of singularity. And that law of singularity points to infinity. Now, let's back up then from the cosmology viewpoint and the universal and come into the physical world. And the whole point of Dr. Dyer's conversation in that was, we have a whole bunch of space with particles out there that we call planets and that we call galaxies. But it's a whole bunch of space with millions of miles in between these planets and particles. The most amazing thing happens when you go into the microscopic world, to a cellular level, and even down then further to a atomic level. And at the atomic level, we measure what are called protons, neutrons, and electrons. But Dr. Dispenza also in modern science backs up this next statement, which says that there is more space in that atom than there is particle. Now, why is that so important? Because when I started to analyze that and think about that and process that understanding, I began to realize that the model of the atom, and when you look at the model of the atom with the proton and the electron and the neutron kind of all around, it's interesting that the ball and stick model looks exactly the same as a ball and stick model of our solar system, with the Earth and the stars and the sun surrounding the Earth. If we call the Earth the center, just because we are on this planet, we call it the center. But what is, again, just amazing about that is the similarity and the understanding that when we go to a microscopic and an electron microscopic level, those particles look exactly the same as looking at the stars from an astronaut's point of view, or through a telescope from astrology's point of view. I just find that to be totally incredibly amazing in physics, that we are 99.99999999999% space. We'll go further into this topic, because this is the underlying foundation by which everything in medicine, everything in our economy and our society, as far as energy and combustion and chemical reactions, and literally everything rests and lies in these universal laws, that everything is created spiritually first and physically second. Before we leave today, let me leave you with one last thought. The electron shows wave and particle forms and wavelengths, and they call them characteristics, attributes. In other words, the electron can act like a light wave, which would be X-ray, gamma ray. Those are energy waves, and they have certain characteristics and travel through space at a certain, all of those characteristics. Anyway, the electron can also show the mass and the characteristics of a particle, which behave differently than energy. Just amazing concept. Let me leave you with that. Digest that. Think about it this week. Spiritual first, physical second, and I'll join you again next week. Thanks for tuning in. Love ya. Bye.